One of you, our amazing listeners, has requested a deep dive into flat earthers.
Oh, boy.
Gotta admit, even for us,
Yeah.
this is going to be a wild ride.
Yeah.
Now, we all know what we learned back in school about a round Earth,
Right.
but where's the fun in just accepting things at face value?
That's true. That's true.
So
So
we're going to unpack
go for it.
how CASPER STITH, the author of The Earth is Flat, Be Afraid, Be Very Afraid, builds his case.
Okay.
And he's not just dipping his toe in the water here. He's diving headfirst into this conspiracy theory, claiming there's this whole orchestrated effort to hide the true shape of our planet.
Like some giant magic trick
It is.
being played on all of humanity.
Exactly.
I'm interested. Sign me up. Let's go.
So how does Stith even begin to convince people to throw out basically everything they thought they knew?
Well, he starts with a pretty simple concept, and that is lies.
Okay.
He even pulls a quote from Napoleon, who said, "History is a set of lies agreed upon." And come on, who among us hasn't told a little white lie here and there?
Every day.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Stith reminds us that even the Telegraph, very reputable newspaper, reported that the average Brit tells more than 10 lies a week.
Wow.
So his point being, if we're all capable of fudging the truth a little bit, imagine what those in power can do with all their resources.
Yeah, that's actually kind of unsettling when you put it like that. But saying they're lying isn't exactly like hard evidence, right?
Right.
Does he have anything more concrete?
He does bring up some interesting historical figures who were skeptical about around Earth, people like Nikola Tesla,
Round.
the genius behind so much of our modern technology.
Right.
Tesla believed that Earth is a realm, it is not a planet. It has no edge. So Stith uses this quote from a man who basically invented the 20th century to suggest that maybe, just maybe, conventional science has overlooked something really crucial.
So Tesla as like a proto-flat earther.
Yeah.
That's a new one.
Right.
But, okay, even if Tesla had his doubts, how do you even begin to picture a flat Earth?
Well, Stith describes it as this flat disk with the North Pole at the center.
Okay.
But here's where it gets wild. Antarctica, in his model, it isn't a continent at the bottom of the globe. It's this massive wall of ice encircling the world's oceans.
Hold on. Are you saying that the Earth is basically a giant pizza?
It's essentially, yes.
With an ice crust? I mean, I kind of love it, but also, how does that even work?
Well, he points to things we see every day, like the UN logo, which looks a lot like a flat Earth map with the continents arranged around the North Pole and what looks like an ice rim.
Yeah.
And, you know, they call it an azimuthal equidistant projection.
Oh, right.
A fancy way of saying all points on the map are proportionally distant from the center. Stith sees it as a nod to the real deal.
Okay. I'll admit, that's a clever connection, even if it feels a little, I don't know, convenient.
Right.
But if we're on this giant disk, where's the curve?
Right.
You'd think we'd notice that, like in everyday life, right?
That's Stith's argument, exactly. He says that if the Earth really curved, it would be impossible to have things like railroads and bridges, which are built on the assumption of a flat surface.
So no need to account for a giant dip in the middle when laying down those train tracks.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Right.
Right.
He even uses the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway as an example.
Okay.
It's the longest bridge over water in the world, and Stith points out that there's no mention of curvature in its engineering plans.
So he's saying that, like, basic physics is a lie.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never fallen off the edge of the Earth yet,
Right.
but I'm hooked. Keep going.
Okay.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork for this whole flat Earth theory. But something tells me Stith doesn't just stop at bridges and train tracks.
Oh, no.
What other seemingly normal things does he use to build his case?
Well, he brings up water. You know, we've all seen how it always finds its level, always lays flat. Right. Stith argues that this simple observation that we can all agree on is incompatible with a curved Earth.
Okay, that makes sense on, like,
Yeah.
a small scale, like in a glass of water or whatever.
Right.
But what about, like, the ocean?
Right.
Surely there's something else at play there, right?
That's where Stith brings up one of the classic arguments for around-Earth ships disappearing hull first over the horizon.
Right.
He claims that with a powerful enough zoom lens, you can actually see those ships in their entirety, meaning they never actually went over any curve.
I will admit I've seen some pretty compelling videos online
Yeah.
that seem to back that up.
Right.
But then there's all that stuff about space.
Right.
How does Stith counter that? We've all seen photos of Earth from space. It looks I mean, pretty darn round to me.
Stith doesn't shy away from that one bit.
Okay.
He dives headfirst into NASA's history, particularly their involvement with Operation Paperclip, the post-World War II program that brought former Nazi scientists to the U.S. He highlights Wernher von Braun, a key figure in NASA's early space program, and a former Nazi party member.
So he's suggesting there's, like, a darker side to space exploration, that NASA might not be the squeaky clean organization we think it is.
Exactly. He's planting these seeds of doubt, suggesting that maybe some of the information coming from this organization, especially about the shades of the Earth, might be influenced by, you know, a less than noble past.
That's a heavy accusation, to say the least.
It is.
But does he offer any, like, concrete examples?
Well,
what about the Apollo missions? Those astronauts went to space, walked on the moon. Are you trying to tell me that was all faked?
Stith doesn't necessarily say that it was faked, but he does point to some inconsistencies.
Like what?
He brings up the Van Allen radiation belts. These zones of intense radiation that surround Earth. He questions how astronauts could have passed through them safely, given the levels of radiation.
I remember learning about those in school. They sounded pretty dangerous, even with all the precautions taken.
Exactly. And Stith even mentions this documentary called Astronauts Gone Wild, where Apollo 12 astronaut Alan Bean seems uncertain about whether they even encountered the Van Allen belts during their mission. And to add another layer of intrigue, Stith reminds us that in 2013, NASA announced the discovery of a third Van Allen belt.
Oh, wow.
Something that seemingly went unnoticed during 6 manned missions to the moon.
Okay, now that's just weird. Like a whole extra belt of radiation and nobody noticed? Either NASA missed something big or I don't even want to speculate. But what about satellites? Those are real, right? We use them every day.
So Stith doesn't let satellites off the hook either. He brings up Lockheed Martin's high-altitude airships, claiming that these airships could offer the same capabilities as satellites at a fraction of the cost. He questions why we would even bother with all of this, like expensive and complex satellite technology, if these cheaper, more efficient alternatives already exist.
So he's suggesting that those twinkling lights in the night sky might not be what we think they are. What's next? Is he going to say that the moon is made of cheese?
He doesn't go that far. But he does bring up something called the Antarctic Cup Ocean Race. A race that claims to circumnavigate Antarctica. Stith points out that the race follows a course that never actually gets close to the continent itself. He claims that they're sailing in a big circle, following a predetermined route that keeps them far away from any actual landmass.
Hold on. He's saying this whole race is a sham. That they're not really circumnavigating anything? Why go through all that trouble?
That's exactly what Stith wants us to ask. He argues that a true circumnavigation of Antarctica would allow ships to sail with the continent in view the entire time, starting and ending at the same point. But according to him, those kinds of voyages just don't happen.
So he's skeptical of space travel, thinks satellites might be airships, and believes that a major international race is a carefully orchestrated lie. I'm starting to see what people call this a conspiracy theory. But what about all those images we've seen of Earth from space? Surely those prove that he's wrong.
So Stith tackles that head on. He argues that a lot of the images that we see are actually composites patched together from multiple photos. He points to NASA's blue marble photos as an example, highlighting these inconsistencies in the size and shape of continents.
Interesting.
Between different versions of the same photo.
Wow, He doesn't stop there, does he?
He does not.
I bet he even has something to say about that, like incredible GoPro footage of Felix Baumgartner's jump from the edge of space. You know, the one where you can see the curvature of the Earth.
Exactly. So Stith argues that the fisheye lens used in that footage actually distorts the image, creating an illusion of curvature.
Interesting.
He even dissects those like mesmerizing time-lapse videos of Earth spinning from the International Space Station. Claiming that they're, you know, cleverly edited.
I'll admit, even I am having trouble, like, wrapping my head around this. Like, if those videos are fake, what's the point? It all seems a bit excessive, don't you think?
That's the heart of the conspiracy, isn't it? To make us question everything,
Yeah.
even our own senses. But Stith doesn't just point out what he believes are inconsistencies and lies.
Okay.
He offers alternative explanations
Oh.
for how the world works if it
Oh.
really is flat.
Well, I've got to hear alternative explanations for, well, like, reality as we know it.
Exactly.
Let's dive into that rabbit hole, shall we?
Let's do it.
Buckle up, listener, because as promised, we're diving even deeper into Casper Stith's
Yeah.
alternative explanations for, well, everything.
Yeah.
Last time, we left off with him saying that a lot of what we see, especially from space, might be manipulated. So if he's throwing out the images, what does he offer up in their place?
Well, Stith brings up this ancient flood,
Okay.
this cataclysmic event described in, many cultures' mythologies.
Right.
He suggests that a flood of that magnitude, like the one in the Bible, the story of Noah's Ark,
Right.
could have reshaped the earth, creating many of the features we see today. He even cites Robert Ballard, the oceanographer who discovered the wreck of the Titanic,
Right.
who, himself found evidence of a massive flood in the Black Sea thousands of years ago.
Okay, so a great flood reshaping the Earth. That's a pretty bold claim.
It is.
But even if we, entertain that idea for a second, what about something as fundamental as gravity?
Right.
Doesn't gravity explain why the Earth is round in the first place?
That's where Stith gets really radical.
Okay.
He starts questioning the very nature of gravity itself. He even quotes Nikola Tesla again, who said, "Today scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments, and they wander off through equation after equation and eventually build a structure which has no relation to reality."
Wow.
So Stith suggests that, maybe gravity is just this theoretical construct.
Okay.
Something that's used to kind of explain away things that don't quite fit the model of a spinning globe.
So if not gravity, then what is holding everything together
Right.
in Stith's, flat Earth?
Well, Stith proposes this idea of an electromagnetic field,
Okay.
a kind of universal energy, if you will,
Right.
that dictates how celestial bodies move.
Mhm.
He even takes it a step further and suggests that the Earth might be this giant Tesla coil. Okay.
Powered wirelessly by this field.
Hold on. Are we saying that the Earth is one giant free energy machine?
Essentially, yes.
I mean, that's quite a leap, even for someone as, imaginative as Tesla.
It is, but Stith backs it up
Okay.
by highlighting the sheer volume of electromagnetic energy that Tesla was able to generate
Right.
and transmit wirelessly,
Right.
even with the limited technology
Yeah.
that was available in the early 20th century.
Right. Yeah.
And then he scales that up
Okay.
to a planetary level,
Right.
suggesting that perhaps the ancients knew more about harnessing this energy than we do today.
Okay. I can see how someone might find that compelling, but Stith doesn't stop there, does he?
He does not.
He takes this idea of a giant electromagnetic Earth and runs with it, right? He goes on to describe this dome that encloses the Earth. A dome, a concept that he links to the biblical firmament,
Right.
the idea of a solid sky
Right.
that separates, the heavens from the earth.
Yeah.
He even uses Hillary Clinton's famous line
That's
about the glass ceiling
Right.
as this subtle hint at this dome.
Wow.
He points out that Dome A is a significant location in Antarctica,
Ooh,
and that NASA itself uses domes in many of its projects.
interesting.
He even ties it to the iconic Dome of the Vatican, suggesting this deeper meaning behind this shape.
So we're talking about a giant snow globe
Basically.
with us as the, hopefully, very entertained inhabitants.
Right, exactly.
It's an intriguing image. But if this dome is real, what's its purpose?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
Stith doesn't offer any, concrete answers,
Right.
but he does lay out some possibilities.
Like what?
He suggests this dome could be a barrier, protecting us from something outside.
Okay.
Or perhaps even containing us, keeping something in.
Okay.
He even speculates about the dome's origins, hinting at, advanced ancient civilizations or even extraterrestrial influence.
Oh, okay. So we've gone from a flat Earth to a giant Tesla coil to living under a mysterious dome potentially built by aliens.
It's quite a journey.
I'm not sure if I should be taking notes or booking a flight to Area 51.
Well, that's the beauty of a deep dive like this, isn't it? It challenges our assumptions and forces us to kind of confront the unknown.
Right.
And whether we agree with Stith's conclusions or not.
Yeah.
He raises some, thought-provoking questions.
He certainly does.
Yeah.
And in a world where information is often presented as absolute truth, I think questioning what we think we know is more important than ever.
I completely agree.
So to our listener who requested this wild ride,
Yeah.
we hope you found this deep dive as mind-bending as we have.
I think we all did.
It just goes to show that sometimes the most fascinating journeys are the ones that take us far beyond the beaten path, even if that path leads us to a flat Earth enclosed in a giant mysterious dome.
At the end of this podcast, please share your thoughts on the book, and if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.